Hello, friends. Welcome to Logistics of Logistics podcast. My name is Joe Lynch. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is a very special day because I am in New Orleans at the Trimble Insight Tech Conference, and even more special, I'm here with my friend Rishi. Today's topic is smart routes, safer stops, how mapping tech is transforming trucking with my friend Rishi Mehra. How's it going?
Great, Joe. Nice to be able to spend some time with you. Happy to have another opportunity with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me at your wonderful conference. We spoke last year. In fact, I'll put a link to the episode we did last year, which was the transformative power of mapping. But first, Rishi, please introduce yourself and your company and what you guys do. Give us the whole transportation side of Trimble.
Well, Trimble's a major company in different areas, and as you said, transportation side of Trimble. The transportation and logistics segment within Trimble is a big part of our business, and our mission is to transform the way freight moves in the industry. We are organized into different applications, so we think of these as serving different personas. In freight movement, we talk about how do we have offerings for shippers, how do we have offerings for brokers, how do we have offerings for carriers from a TMS perspective, from maintaining their assets from TMT, the asset maintenance side of things, how do we help fleets with fuel tax compliance in North America. And underlying all of that is the mapping technology as well. So that's how Trimble Transportation Logistics comes across, with different best-in-class point solutions, but all in a connected ecosystem. My role in here is to focus on the North American transportation market, the mapping technologies, all the product portfolio for that, as well as our TMS and asset maintenance offerings.
Yep. Yeah, and I said this to a friend the other day. I hadn't heard of Trimble until about 2 years ago. I've done a lot of podcasts, almost 8 years. And every once in a while somebody say Trimble, and I never really knew. It is a behemoth, though. It's a very big company with a huge influence. And I was just at one of the keynotes where they said, I think 1 million trucks have this, and I think $60 billion worth of transportation spend flows through the Trimble systems every year.
It is. If you look at our ecosystem between North America and Europe, those numbers all add up. We have trucks moving, we have trucks running our navigation system, and it's global. That's an important part which people don't think about when they think Trimble in the transportation space. They think North America, but we are truly a global player in it. Heavy dominance in North America and Europe, but sprinkled throughout the globe.
Yep. So we're at the Trimble conference, the Insight Tech Conference, and I was here last year. I might have said the same thing I said to you last year, but a lot of times you hear people talk about visibility, and I sometimes feel like when I come to Trimble, this is where visibility comes from. So you hear a lot of people say, oh, we have this visibility, that visibility, but they don't necessarily create it. It's an application very often from Trimble, but this isn't just Trimble. All your partners are here, and I think that's an important part of your business. And I would say a lot of your partners you also compete with in a friendly way. Yeah. You compete somewhere, cooperate other places. And I think that's the nature of my phone's the same way, the internet's the same way. You basically are serving the customer first, competing second.
That's what we have. Our aim is, as you heard Rob Painter and Michael Kornhauser speak earlier today, connected ecosystem. We have our own solutions. We might not service the needs in every aspect of moving freight, but that's where we bring the partners in. And partners would have competing solutions. We offer the choice to our customers, but the connectivity is the key. Right. Our promise to the industry is we'll make sure everything connects. And this is the place where, yes, you have visibility into how a true connected ecosystem works for transportation. Combination of Trimble's solutions as well as our partner ecosystem.
Yep. So one more time, who do you guys serve and what problem are you solving for them?
So we serve different personas in the market, whether you go from the shipper who wants to find the right carrier to move their freight. They need to find out how to get the right carriers to move from A to B, what the rates should be. We serve the brokers, the intermediaries, the 3PLs who need to move the freight, need to identify and find the carriers. We help the carriers themselves who are moving the freight to offer them the best-in-class tools. We offer the carriers functionality to move and maintain their assets and keep them always well maintained so that the freight keeps moving. We have solutions for the drivers in the cab so that they're able to deliver the goods focusing on what they do best, drive on the roads.
Oh, I like it. I like it. In the technology that you talk about for the trucks, for the truck drivers, it has to be, we think of a tech stack, but it's a tech stack that you're trying to avoid them having to enter anything in. So it's kind of very, very unique. And I think this is where the connected ecosystem comes in. So I can be using one system and that information can easily pull in. And I think you might have said it to me, but somebody said it to me. We're kind of like the Android operating system or the Apple operating system, where if you're an app within our system, if you're a partner within our system, we can have all that information easily shared. And I think also, anytime you talk about sharing now, you have to also talk about security. And that's been a big focus. I think Michael Kornhauser said today, first thing, we're under attack in this industry. Same way he started his speech last year. And I don't think he took that out of thin air. He's been hearing it from the industry.
He has, and we've all seen what attacks can do. Any threat, any ransomware attack to a carrier disrupts not only just that carrier's operations, it disrupts the whole ecosystem. Goods stop moving. You can't get the order information in. You can't find out where the loads are. People having to revert back to phone calls, which is not the best and the most safe way to move things. And yes, there are cyber threat attempts into the ecosystem that we maintain for our carriers or the carriers maintain for themselves. It has been on rise. It almost feels as if that's a new weapon that people have against the industry, they've seen how important freight movement is for the economy, and people are targeting that.
Yeah. Last year I went to the cybersecurity conference. I think NMFTA had that down in Cleveland. And there was a guy from the White House spoke, and he said, during the pandemic, we saw a little bit of brittleness in the supply chains. Some bad actors around the world, whether they're state funded or otherwise, said, ooh, that's an attack vector. So we're being attacked even more than previously. And just because we saw a little bit of problems in our supply chains, we did well enough. I mean, it's not your grandparents' pandemic.
Now we've come out of that, but yes, the threat is real. There are different bad actors. It could be some state-sponsored. It could be just regular people wanting to disrupt things and make a few bucks. Yep.
So Rishi, tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Some career highlights before you joined the mothership Trimble.
Well, the journey started back in India, where I grew up in Mumbai, or Bombay as it used to be called then. I did my engineering out there, came to the US, spent time in the geospatial field.
What is that?
Geospatial field, yes, the GPS, right? Technology around identifying roads, mapping. That was my roots out here for my master's degree. We started off a company from which we were helping and working with the US mapping agencies, Census Bureau, Defense, for automating their processes. So I've had an interest in automating mapping activities.
You've been doing this for a minute.
Doing this for a minute, and I joined Trimble in 2014, and it's been a great 11 years now since that journey, coming up on 12 years next year. So I've been a part of various roles within Trimble, helping primarily focused around mapping, routing, navigation.
Yep. I always have to ask people who are from somewhere else originally, besides friends and family, what do you miss the most about India?
Oh God, if you would have asked me this question when I first came here, it was the Indian food. But the way the openness of the country out here is, and all the people who have moved here, food is no longer the thing. So it is friends and family for me still. It is the culture out there, very different. It's hard to replicate your home country anywhere else.
Yeah, I have an Indian friend, and every time I say, oh, well, let's go here and meet at this, and he always says, I don't want to always eat Indian food. And I said, yeah, but I need you to tell me which Indian food is the good Indian food. And every time I think, oh, this is really good, he goes, that's not Indian. That's something else.
It's not the authentic Indian is what he's implying.
I know. It's like, it's hard. Yes. I'm from a bland place in Europe. Anyway, I want to talk to you about a lot of the things. So you're very involved, obviously, in the mapping thing. So I said to you just before we hit the record button today, last year, after I spoke to you, I spoke to a representative from a trucking company, and she said, without Trimble's mapping technology, we would have lost money last year. And I said, I was like, please explain. And she said, you can use this technology to go the cheapest route, the least expensive route, we'll say. You can also, put other caveats in there. Maybe you want to stay only on expressway or only side roads. Maybe it's hazmat and I can only drive on certain roads. Please explain, because it clearly is not just Waze.
No, and that's the interesting thing you bring up, Waze, right? People have attempted years and years and still attempt to do where they try to build a routing algorithm and a routing technology where you can guide drivers the safest way. It is more than just having the bridge height data. Yes, you can get the bridge height data from the authorities and put what the bridge restrictions are. But generating an efficient route is adhering to the driver's preferences, adhering to the legal restrictions that townships and state authorities place on where trucks can go and cannot go. So what we have done at Trimble is built a whole ecosystem. We have the best-in-class industry data from all the commercial attribution that you can think of, not just the physical restrictions, the weight limits, where you cannot go over a bridge. If the weight limit is 40,000 tons, you cannot carry a full 53 foot. We offer the capabilities to our fleets to be able to configure. If they have a preference for one road versus the other, we are giving them tools in the back end, and the connected ecosystem sends that to the driver so that when they run the routes, they know they're going on truck safe routes based on what their back office fleet manager has prescribed, helping the fleets avoid incidents, avoid bridge hits. Every bridge hit is a huge hit to their bottom line, and in this economy, that's the last thing that it can afford.
You told me last year that if somebody hits a truck gets stuck under a bridge, they're not using Trimble. They're using Waze or some other tool because it should never happen. You should never be on that road where there's an opportunity for you to
go under a bridge and hit it.
And that is one of those things you're going to end up in the national press.
Yes, it is. And our carriers don't want their logos splattered over local newspapers or on the TV screens with the truck logo in there. And we take pride in what Copilot Navigation offers from Trimble to these drivers to avoid all these restrictions.
Yep. And I think also when I think of driving, you also can take them to the, if there's cheaper gas down 10 miles, you'll say, hey, that is where you should be getting gas.
Yeah. And that is yes, we do. We offer within the navigation system tools for them to be aware of what the gas prices are, but it starts in the back office. The whole of the journey is close to 300, 400 miles. And you have an opportunity where you cross state boundaries or even across the interstate highway network, gas prices significantly fluctuate. When it matters to the carrier's bottom line, we have an optimization tool which lets the drivers plan out what is the cheapest way to fill up the gas for their route and still meet. It might require them to fill up a third of their tank at one place so that they can just cross over to the state border and get much cheaper gas and get a full fill.
Those are huge tanks, though.
They sure are, and every penny matters in this case.
Yeah, and again, the trucking company I spoke to last year said the difference between us making money and losing money was Trimble. We used it and it worked. And by the way, that young lady, she left that trucking company. She works at Trimble now. so she was apparently a very big fan.
That's great to hear. Yes, we do, and that's the power of the connected ecosystem. We bring in the different data points. We help the back office plan. And in today's economy, when the operating ratios are so low, where every penny matters, there was a time in the 2020s where customers were just spending money. The freight economy was in a better place. These tools were an afterthought.
Right.
But when you have to watch every dollar to continue to make the money, continue to pay your drivers, these become even more important. The efficiencies, the cost savings by use of Trimble's technology are powerful things and for a carrier.
I know, well, we're not going to get deep into the partner ecosystem that you guys have, but you have a lot of your partners are here. I heard over 50, but I know you have hundreds of partners. And one of the partners, I stopped at their booth. I said, gas cards. And they said, oh, yeah, we're a Trimble partner. And I said, oh, what? And they said, imagine a truck is getting, somebody wants to spend hundreds of dollars to fill up a tank, and it's in Iowa. but you know that truck is in California. And I said, how would I know that? They go, because we're connected to Trimble. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
And so something as simple as a gas card could be the difference between your company getting defrauded horribly and not getting defrauded at all.
And we have taken it to the next level where we just don't do which state you're in, but within the gas station, we know where the trucks park. And if it is not at the fuel bay, you could disable the card from being used for filling up. That's the power of the technology. When you're able to connect the pieces across these different vendors, picking it up from our telematics partners, combining that information with the fuel providers and the fuel card providers, and activating or deactivating the cards. That is super important.
So everybody who's at this conference that I talk to, and again, sometimes you compete with some of these companies, but at the same time you cooperate in other places. And I've heard everybody say sort of the same thing. We partner because that's best for the customer. And we can't have you guys competing to the detriment of customers. So you compete in some places, cooperate in some other places, but everybody down there kind of said the same thing, that connected ecosystem allows for, well, one of the themes of today's keynotes was compounding interest. Yeah. And they talked about you have to have the courage to begin, the first step.
And I took that keynote and I was moderating a panel around connected advantages. And it was great to hear a similar story from the carrier Trimac who was in there. And they gave a perfect example of how they use technology from Trimble and also connect to other pieces in the partner ecosystem that we have. And it's the openness of the system that is what promotes. Trimble's vision and mission is to keep customer at the center while we're solving the problems.
Yep.
And if we are not able to provide the best-in-class solutions, there are partners who can provide that. So we have to connect them.
Yep. So I want to talk to you about safety and security, both for the person, the driver, and also for the goods. We have had a problem with both. And we were chatting before we hit the record button about now they're picking out freight at the port, maybe in Long Beach or LA, and saying that is the container that has this, or they're going to the warehouse and say that's where the high value goods, whether it's drugs or Xboxes or mobile phones, and they are figuring out and following these people. And so when somebody finally stops to hit the restroom or have lunch or take a mandatory break, their truck's being stolen. And also putting drivers in harm's way. And also, the Guy Fieri, Sammy Hagar, tequila heist,
story. Yeah.
$1 million, 2 truckloads. Somebody knew what they were doing. That was not, guns a-blazing. That was somebody spoofing the system. Those truckers, the guys who picked it up, they thought they did a job well done today.
Yeah.
They picked it up at the right place, delivered it at the right place. For all they know, that everything was good until somebody called them probably the next day and said, "Did you steal that tequila?" So talk about what you guys are doing for the safety and security of both the people first and also the goods.
So let's talk about people first. Our focus is for the driver in the cab. We don't want the driver to be distracted in any fashion. We want to provide them all the tools at their fingertips, voice instructions, less interactions. So that's where our Copilot navigation solution fits in. It has been enhanced over the several years now, where it's the best in class in the industry. We are able to advise the driver not only of the safest route that they should be taking, but what happens along the routes. How many times do we run into a scenario where there's an accident on the road and the traffic just backs up without any information? It's very difficult for a truck traveling at 60 miles an hour to suddenly come to a stop. So we have traffic slowdown alerts for the drivers so that we give audible alerts looking ahead and ask them to slow down. Our hyperlocal weather alerts in our partnership with Weather Optics, our connected ecosystem story, tells the drivers of high wind conditions, slippery road conditions, snow impact with the risk index score, alerting them what action they should be taking, keeping them safe while they're driving, which also is the safety of the goods that they have. When we talk about an accident occurring for the truck driver, that is super critical. The fleets go out of business based on the verdicts that we have seen coming out of an accident out there.
Yeah, those nuclear verdicts, I haven't talked about it in a few years on my podcast, but boy, they've taken companies that were 3 generations to build and tore them down in one accident. And sometimes they the accident is 5 states away from where they're a good corporate citizen in some small town, and they say, oh, you killed somebody, and obviously these are all horrible things, but the verdicts are hundreds of millions of dollars.
So the right investment, it doesn't cost a lot. It is a few dollars a month to invest in the right tools to keep your driver safe. Driver focus on the road, prevent the accidents, alert them of the traffic issues, around bridge strike issues, around rollover incidents, around weather incidents. That is what we're providing the fleets with. That investment is worth significantly much more in the peace of mind and avoiding these nuclear verdicts.
So the traffic one, I understand. Now you said weather too. How does that work?
So we take the route from the driver, and this is very different. When you hear about companies talking about weather, they look at the National Weather Service polygons, they look at Environment Canada. There's a warning across 20 counties. That doesn't work. That is not meaningful information for the driver. What we have done in our partnership with Weather Optics is we have a risk index score on every road in the country. So we know what the current conditions are, when it is raining, how fast the hydroplaning could occur. We know if it's snowing, if the snow is going to stick to the road, if there's high wind. High wind is different if it is 100 feet above the ground, but if the windy conditions are much more closer to the ground, that can impact an empty trailer. You could have the swaying out there, which could lead to rollover incidents. So we have partnered to provide that information to the driver while they are driving, so that they can be aware what the upcoming conditions are and take the necessary action of slowing down or pulling over and taking the brake. We've also provided that information into the back office so that the dispatchers can plan and think about alternate reroutes to avoid the weather conditions coming up.
I think I've heard just from conversations here that getting it to the dispatch team, they will say, we've created some parameters for our drivers. I don't want our driver driving as soon as the wind hits this number. Yeah. Now, I could see how a driver might say, I'm only 50 miles away.
Yes.
Let me deliver this. I'm going to take the chance. And maybe it's rational, maybe it's not. If you say, once the wind hits this number, we say pull over.
Right.
And it's might be annoying to the driver right then, but since I felt comfortable driving, I'd rather, if I owned a trucking company, I'd rather say, we set the guardrails, so to speak, to make sure that we're keeping our drivers safe. And again, these guys are on the road and they have a desire to get home safely, but they might also, they might take
push the limit slightly.
Maybe 99 out of 100 wouldn't do it, but one time, and we all would be guilty of it, saying, I just want to get home tonight, and I'm going to take this chance.
It's just like, why do we take out insurance policies? No one wants to get in an accident. No one wants to have a health issue. It's for that instance that you do have, there is coverage, and it's the same thing. We provide that peace of mind both to the drivers as well as the dispatchers to be able to trust the system. I'm in the Detroit metro area, and so I worked in automotive for a long time, and I think delivery to automotive plants was always like 98.7% or higher, 99. And what used to drive me, I worked at a trucking company for a short time, is their parking lot would be half empty, and yet a truck, very heavy truck, from 3 states away can't be late that day. Yet your drivers, your people who drove 20 minutes from their house, they didn't come in today, yet somehow that truck should be on the road. It's unsafe, and I think if you have weather and you say, hey, we're going to write this into our agreements, we're going to get our customers to agree that this is best for all of us, I think it's the right kind of information. It definitely is the key, and we're seeing a change in the trend where carriers are willing to have that discussion, and shippers are open for it as well, because we can give shippers insights too, how their freight movement can get impacted based on the upcoming weather indications.
Yep. We had, when the ELD mandate hit, there was a number of large carriers that I talked to, and they said that we have to change routes. We have to change things in timing and ETA and with our big customers. And a lot of the big customers are saying, I don't care about that. I don't care about the hours of service. I'm not worried about your ELD. And they said, well, you have to. Otherwise, we're going to get dinged on our driver safety, on our carrier safety, and we're not going to be eligible to work with you anymore.
Right.
And so I'm not saying everyone is doing that, but I love the idea of more information. You'll say, okay, now we're also plugging into our agreements stuff that makes sense for the safety and the reputation of our companies.
Right. Definitely, and that is the trend happening. The other point that you touched on was safety of the goods, using the tequila example. There are tools within the Trimble portfolio where you can vet a broker who you're hiring for hauling the loads. You can vet the end carrier. What is their reputation? Are they truly genuine? Are they going to have a split load where they will deliver something that could have prevented this heist out there? The carrier was vetted. The carrier knew what they were doing. It was a fully insured carrier. They had a great history, but the person who decided to haul the load in the intermediary had bad intent.
Yeah, I think the government is starting to get involved, but you alluded to it when we were talking about weather. If you were to say, hey, we think we were defrauded, somebody was stolen, and you say, well, where was it stolen? Somewhere between Atlanta and New York. Right? You're like, yes. Well, who do I call? Call all the police stations along the way. We need national help on that, right. But I ultimately think we're on our own, and I think technology companies like Trimble are going to solve those problems for us. If we're compliant, if we follow the Trimble process, we're going to be most of the time safe. The nature of the I know cartels are involved. Yes. The nature of the very sophisticated crime that's happening is they're just getting better every day. Yeah. So there's never going to be a time where you go, we're 100% safe.
No, we have to stay on top of it. We have to keep enhancing the offerings that we bring in, put more security measures in place, help our customers deliver the goods in the right place, right time. Yep.
So you told me we should also talk about data analytics today. What data analytics what is that going to do for me?
It's going to help, at least in today's economy, freight economy, access to data, connecting the data from different parts of your ecosystem for freight movement, helps you understand how your operations are performing. What do you need to do different? There are several examples you could take from a mapping technology perspective. If you have all the data connected, you can find out how much time are your trucks spending in the unloading area for the shipper. That's a dwell time discussion. It's detention. That's a discussion you can have with shippers, because from a carrier's perspective, you are motivated to keep the trucks moving. The driver's hours, the service clocks keep moving. That is important insights. When we talk about collecting data, it is data in a safe, secure, normalized way so that you can get the insights to be able to make operational decisions, operational efficiencies, everything that impacts your P&L as a carrier and your bottom line.
So how am I, if I'm using the Trimble systems, yeah. I know there's more than one, but let's say I'm using the mapping technology. Am I getting, you have like a platform that I can access information like?
You definitely can, yes. We do have several business intelligence tools in our portfolio, or you could look at using the example that I gave you about dwell time, detention time insights. Those could be used standalone or integrated inside your TMS. We even give that information to the driver so that they can better prepare. If a particular facility has turnaround times of 2 hours when you reach there at 11 a.m., they know what they're prepared to when they're getting in there. They're not blindsided. They're not just sitting there and waiting. They could be taking a break if that facility offers that break. So we are building out the data and the attributes to inform the drivers what's happening at that facility, what is available at the facility, and what action should they take.
It seems as if we're getting closer and closer to the fix of wasting driver time, and I reference it all the time. I live not too far from a retailer. When I go for a walk in the morning or at night, I'll see a truck, got there after hours, got there 6 o'clock, and they'll stay there all night long and then unload. It takes an hour to unload. And I always think that just seems so unnecessary. Yes. And I've talked to some of the drivers, some of them live an hour or two away. And I was like, I'd be tempted to drive back home. They're like, oh, I ran out of hours. And it's just a whole twisted mess, and it's making it difficult for our industry to keep drivers. We're also not utilizing our drivers. I've heard people say in the past, oh, we have a driver shortage. Now people are saying we have a driver utilization problem. They're only driving six hours a day.
When they're supposed to be driving 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that is the point you hit. We've changed it. The narrative has changed and become truly driver utilization issue.
Yep. And I think we also, as shippers, when we say, oh, we want to do right by drivers, right by our carriers, and then they say, but we want to close our dock at 4 p.m. And it seems like you could say, look, you live 15 minutes away. What would it matter? You go home and come back at 8 o'clock so you can. I'm oversimplifying, but I can see where, well, they are saving money. Facilities that are open with longer open times are getting savings.
They sure are, but also you brought up an interesting point. If there is predictability, which is what Trimble offers, if we know the driver is going to get to a particular location and at the dock at a certain time, Trimble solutions can help with that, which helps the warehouse make the right decision to staff at the appropriate level. We have a time slot management tool where the warehouse owner could schedule appointments at those facilities and give insights to the dispatcher and dynamically change those appointments as needed as well.
You think about like if you and I ran a warehousing and maybe a terminal and we said, well, we're really busy for like, an hour here and an hour there. If we got really good at the predictability of when that's coming in, it says it's going to be here at 11 and it's going to get here, give or take 5 minutes on either side. You can say, well, okay, I got a part-time guy. He's going to school and he's going to get here. He'll be here from 10:30 till, however long it loads. And if you could kind of get to that place, you're going to save money. And maybe you say, we don't even need all the full-time, because sometimes you can get part-time people easier than full-time people. And instead, we don't lose tons of drivers because their life is very inconvenient and hard to plan.
Definitely. It is those small incremental efficiencies that we can do. Remove the inefficiencies, 1% better every day, and we can get to that stage.
Yep, that's kind of been the theme of this conference so far, is this idea of compounding. But it takes the courage to take the first step. And I think in this market, the easiest sell is, if you're not making money, maybe it's your route.
Yes. You definitely need to worry about that. You need to optimize your route so that you're able to get to the right stops at the right time. You need to optimize the route for safety considerations. You need to optimize for drivers' breaks so that they are able to find the brake parking spot at the right time so that they don't waste the hours. And we have the offerings within the Trimble's portfolio to be able to help both the back office planner as well as the driver for that.
Yep. I was here yesterday and I talked to the guys from the Truck Parking Club. They're here today. And I love what they're doing, where the Truck Parking Club is going to say, hey, we have safe, lighted facilities where you can park your truck. The challenge is I don't want to run out of hours a half hour before I get there. And that's where the route optimization
comes in, connecting to the driver's hours to find out whether they can reach there, and the safe truck parking. And we are partners with the Truck Parking Club, also helps address the safety issue, the cargo theft issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of horrifying when you say a driver forced to pull over and sleep in a unlit parking lot when thieves know what's in the back of that truck.
Yes.
I wouldn't want that for a friend. I wouldn't want that for a family member. All right. Well, let's wrap this bad boy up. I love what you guys are doing on this. And I think as soon as we look at the Trimble ecosystem, and I think of it this route, it seems like everything here connects to the mapping.
Sure does. Mapping is the foundation for everything that you build on top of.
I should also mention, while we're talking about it, you guys own PC Miler.
Yes, we do.
Talk about that for a minute and the significance of why that's important to your mapping.
Well, PC Miler is an important solution in our portfolio, which has for years, the 39th version was released earlier this year, for years has been acting as the standard for safe
every contract.
Every contract, plus also it is the safe route, where the shipper knows with confidence that if they write a contract based on PC Miler, they're able to ensure that carrier is going to follow that safe route, which is where the carrier comes in and says, yes, besides my contract, how do I rely on PC Miler to navigate me? So PC Miler is integrated inside the TMS solution from a planning perspective. Things that we spoke about from hours of service optimization, route optimization, PC Miler offers those capabilities. And the same PC Miler engine is running inside Copilot, which is helping the driver to navigate appropriately using the same route, the safe route, and the contracted route, so that the driver can make money and the carrier ends up making money.
Right. I don't know if it came up in our conversation last year, or maybe it was a conversation on the floor, but when you're delivering to large facilities, and I'm from the automotive space where could have a 100-acre facility. It's not just knowing where the address is. It's knowing where the dock is, and that could be a few miles away.
Yes, the address of the facility of 100 Main Street might not be where the truck driver needs to go in.
Right.
The truck entrance could be completely different. And once you enter that facility, the large 100-acre lot, you need to know where to navigate inside it. And Trimble has spent a lot of time building out our places offering, which are all commercial locations,
Right.
with a truck-safe entrance and a truck-safe exit where the trucks get in. And then we have started mapping out the exact dock locations so that when the dispatch occurs from the back office and the communication comes which dock they're supposed to go in, we're able to navigate the driver right to the safe location.
Well, this is the difference between Waze and commercial, things that are fine for me. I love Waze, but if I was driving a truck, I know better than to think Waze is going to get me there safely. It's good for me to avoid traffic on the way to the store, but it's not good for the truck drivers.
Definitely not. I would not recommend anyone using Waze or Google Maps default options or anyone else. So beware of providers who try to come at you by saying we have truck navigation. It takes a lot more than simple navigation and integrating traffic.
Yeah, and again, I think having the connected ecosystem attached to all this is, you can't overstate the value of that, because this is my second Trimble conference, but every time you come here, there's all these new announcements happening with the new partnerships and the new connectivity.
Yeah.
So it's being able to partner to all this stuff. And I used to say, when I first saw a transportation management system, I was like, oh, that's the killer app. We don't need a darn thing after that.
Yes.
And now we realize that was just the beginning. It's the foundation for a whole bunch of other technologies.
Yes, we started with that. That was our journey from offering solutions to our carriers and building on top of it every day. And as you heard today, even revolutionizing how you think of the transportation management system with the launch of the new Trimble TMS.
Yep. And I think the three focuses for that was security first,
Yes.
open, meaning we're going to be able to collaborate with all of our partners, and then last but not least, AI powered.
AI powered. If you cannot do anything these days without acknowledging what AI has brought to the industry and the market, automating things, putting the power of computing to help bring more efficiencies and do mundane tasks automatically.
Yeah. Michael Kornhauser said something about, we've had revolutions in our business related to technology. The first was GPS. The second was TMS. Third was the ELD. He goes, all three letters. He goes, the next one is AI. It's only two letters.
Yes, it sure is.
So anyway, I'm going to summarize the best I can, then I'll get your final thoughts on the topic. So I'm talking to my friend Rishi Mehra, and we're talking about smart routes, safer stops, how mapping technology is transforming trucking. And we talked about a whole bunch of things. First and foremost, I heard it last year. A trucking company said, the difference between us being successful and profitable and not being profitable is the mapping technology we use from Trimble. Because it takes us, when we say the least expensive route, it tells us where to fill up, it tells us roads to avoid, it gets us there in a way that lets us make money. And a few extra miles here or there, filling up at the wrong gas station, you said you might only get 1/3 of your gas here and 1/3 of your gas there. All of those things add up. And so if you want to be profitable, you need to consider this mapping technology. And then next we talked about route optimizations. You guys can route them in a whole bunch of different ways. We saw that years ago, I think, that bridge that collapsed, I think out east, where was that?
The one in Baltimore area.
Yeah, it was
you're talking
Baltimore,
about? Yes.
and that was a hazmat bridge.
It
And
was a hazmat bridge, and it increased the number of miles that the hazmat loads needed to go around the city of Baltimore because all the tunnels are restricted.
But also, those guys that day, they said, I was supposed to go on that bridge because it's a hazmat bridge. Where do I go now? Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's a safety issue, not only for the driver, but also for all of us.
Yes.
So we talked about safety in terms of our cybersecurity safety and also security. We talked also about traffic and weather. You guys always have the traffic, but having weather, I think, is significant. And what's your partnership, Weather Optics?
Weather Optics.
I think that is kind of the next level, because there is some number of delays because of weather. Yeah. And I think it's always been somewhat subjective, where I say it was really snowy was where I was at, that's why I'm late. Can I prove that?
And we have the data behind it to help them out.
And then we talked about data analytics. Data analytics seems, no matter what part of this business, and you can use the analytics, but this is just after you've had a whole bunch of data, you can start to look and say, here's the trends, here's the stuff that we're doing wrong, here's the stuff we're doing right. We talked about hours of service. If you got drivers and you're worried about their hours of service, you need to worry about the mapping. And then last but not least, this is connected to PC Miler, which is in everybody's agreement. I don't know if I've ever seen an agreement in this business that didn't reference PC Miler.
You've summarized it well, and PC Miler starts with the foundation for everything we do from a mapping perspective and servicing the needs of carriers, shippers, and brokers, and all the other things that we discussed, from profitability for the carriers, safe routes, secure routes, securing your load, optimization for the drivers, optimization for the fleets. Every penny matters. And that is what adds up to turn that magic penny that we spoke about earlier today.
Yeah. One thing we didn't cover is why is this conference so important to Trimble?
It's important to Trimble to help the industry see how connected ecosystem can work. How do we bring changes? It's important for our existing customers and our partners to be able to find out what they can connect to improve their operations, to look at what other capabilities are coming down the road. Everyone's looking for efficiencies. Everyone's looking for autonomous workflows. It gives us an opportunity to bring everyone into the same room. We learn from our customers. We connect our customers to one another, and we're able to highlight all the solutions that keep the goods moving safer, greener, faster on the road all the time.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
And thank you for having me at your conference.
Always happy to have you here. It's a pleasure.
I hope I can talk to you next year at the same time.
Look forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for listening to my podcast. Your support's very much appreciated. Until next time, onward and upward. You have been listening to the Logistics of Logistics podcast, where we engage with leaders in the logistics and supply chain community. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a nice review on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen. Also, please check out our videos on YouTube and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're very big on LinkedIn. And you can also reach us on the logisticsoflogistics.com, our website.